The film kicks off in the vibrant setting of Punjab, Pakistan amidst a lively wedding celebration. Early on, we are introduced to Cameron, who pays a visit to his father's house for a critical discussion. Cameron's father, Amir Barkawi, is no ordinary man. He's a formidable figure with a vast criminal network spanning the globe. As the story unfolds, the G7 intelligence identifies Amir Barkawi as a notorious Pakistani arms dealer and terrorist. Without hesitation, they authorize a U.S. Air Force drone strike. Tragically, this strike occurs during Barkawi's daughter's wedding, leading to the heart-wrenching loss of many innocent lives. The narrative fast-forwards by 2 years and we find Mike jogging alongside President Asher. Their conversation revolves around political matters. After their discussion, Mike heads home to find his wife eagerly anticipating the birth of their child. As a dedicated member of the Secret Service, Mike grapples with the idea of leaving his job for his growing family. He even starts drafting his resignation email. However, before he can finish, the scene shifts to President Asher, who receives a distressing phone call. The sad news is that James Wilson, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, has unexpectedly passed away due to complications from a surgery, leaving the president deeply shaken. The setting transitions to London, where top-tier security agencies convene to ensure the safety of the upcoming gathering of global leaders who will be attending the funeral of the late Prime Minister. We're then taken back to Washington. Mike returns to his office and encounters Lynn. Together they caution the president about the potential dangers of attending the funeral in London. However, President Asher stands resolute, emphasizing the importance of his presence at the ceremony. As Mike departs, he crosses paths with Alan Trumbull and sends him a greeting. Mike returns home and assures his wife that after this mission he'll be done. Soon after, he and President Asher depart for London. On the way, Lynn entrusts Mike with the responsibility of leading President Asher's international security detail, emphasizing the importance of ensuring everything goes smoothly. Meanwhile, in London, the chief of security rallies his team. He updates them on the latest developments and reminds them of the gravity of their duty, as they are tasked with safeguarding some of the world's most influential leaders. The entourage touches down at Stansted Airport aboard Air Force One, arriving earlier than expected. This catches John, the head of security, off guard. Mike quickly reassures him, noting that the fewer people aware of the president's movements, the safer it is. London is a fortress at this moment, with snipers, helicopters and police officers everywhere. Leaders from many other nations are also on their way to converge with each other. Upon arrival, President Asher is warmly welcomed by the dignitary. In a chilling turn, a man disguised in a police uniform discreetly attaches a bomb to the vehicle of the Canadian Prime Minister. Moments later, the car explodes, causing immense devastation. At the same time, those believed to be the King's Guard open fire and kill the German Chancellor and innocent civilians. It's soon revealed that terrorists have infiltrated the ranks, posing as members of the Metropolitan Police. As President Asher nears the cathedral, a massive group of mercenaries emerges from the shadows, plunging the scene into chaos. Explosions from detonated cars echo through the streets, and the cathedral's entrance is swiftly barricaded, leaving the president stranded outside. Mike springs into action, neutralizing several adversaries before seeking refuge behind an SUV. From this vantage point, he continues to fend off more attackers. Then the war machine comes into play again, but is swiftly neutralized by Mike's quick thinking. Suddenly, 2 ambulances speed onto the bridge, and in a heartbeat both explode. The force of the blast is too much for the bridge's structure, causing it to fracture and begin to collapse. Amidst the chaos, the Japanese official tragically loses his life. Elsewhere, the Italian Prime Minister, consumed by fear, is inside a chapel when a deafening explosion occurs, claiming his life. The terror doesn't end there. The French president's boat is next, erupting in flames as it blown apart on the water. In the midst of the pandemonium, a car is quickly sent for Ben and Mike. Without a moment's hesitation, the duo jumps in and speeds away, trying to escape the unfolding chaos. They are quickly met with a hail of bullets. Their driver skillfully maneuvers, taking out an enemy vehicle. However, they're soon chased by a swarm of motorbikes. In a shocking turn, one biker crashes, sending himself through the bulletproof glass. This allows the enemies to shoot through and injure the driver. With no other option, Mike takes the wheel, skillfully evading and neutralizing several pursuers. More bikers appear, but Mike's deft driving keeps them at bay, allowing the duo to press on. Eventually, after taking out the enemies, they reach a waiting helicopter, to which they board and lift off to safety. The scene transitions to a news broadcast where a reporter somberly announces the death toll from the London attacks. 5 world leaders, including presidents and prime ministers, have tragically lost their lives. The narrative then shifts to Amir, the mastermind behind these heinous acts. He's alive and in touch with his son. The son, confident and composed, assures his father that everything is unfolding as planned. Following this, he plunges the entire city into darkness by cutting off its power. In response, the Vice President of the United States mobilizes the nearest units, though they are 2 hours away. The terrorists, relentless in their pursuit, target the president's helicopter. As they soar through the skies, an accompanying chopper is obliterated. Under heavy fire, the president's chopper deploys flares to dodge incoming missiles, but as the threat intensifies, they exhaust their countermeasures. In a heroic act, a second chopper sacrifices itself, drawing a missile away to save the president, yet fate has another card to play. A Stinger missile finds its mark, sending the president's helicopter crashing into a park. The scene is one of devastation. Officials from the United States watch in horror. Miraculously, both Mike and President Asher emerged from the wreckage battered but alive. Sadly, the same can't be said for Lynn. With her final breaths, she urges Mike to persevere and to safeguard the president at all costs. Emerging from the wreckage of the helicopter, Mike and President Asher try desperately to establish communication with their security team, but their efforts are in vain. Sensing imminent danger, they quickly make their way into the dense forest to evade the approaching adversaries. Back at the command center, Vice President Allen receives an unexpected call. It's Barkawi. He is very much alive and orchestrating the chaos. Barkawi, with a tone of cold determination, reveals the driving force behind his action: revenge for the drone strike that tragically killed his beloved daughter. Though he offers a deal, hand over President Asher, and he will halt the ongoing operation, but Allen firmly rejects the offer, making it clear that they will not negotiate under any circumstance. While on the move, Mike incapacitates a police officer. Asher, taken aback, questions Mike's actions. However, upon closer inspection of the officer's weaponry, it's clear he is no officer. Mike then informs Asher of an MI6 safe house nearby where they can seek refuge, and the duo quickly head to a subway station, but they're not alone for long. Thinking on his feet, Mike deploys a smoke bomb, causing confusion among the attackers. He then tosses a grenade and cleans up the 3 men incapacitated on the ground. Suddenly, a radio from one of the fallen enemies crackles to life. Mike picks it up and finds himself speaking to Cameron. In a bold move, Mike forces him to listen over the radio as he eliminates Cameron's brother, sending a clear message of his determination to protect the president. Meanwhile, back at the command center, Allen accesses a satellite feed that shows Mike holding his gun in a specific manner. Trumbull immediately recognizes this as a coded signal for an MI6 agent, quickly searches for nearby MI6 safe houses, hoping to pinpoint their location. Back in the thick of things, Asher, sensing the gravity of their situation, makes a solemn quest to Mike. He tells him that if capture seems imminent, he'd rather Mike end his life than allow the terrorists to execute him live for the world to see. Soon after, British officials establish communication with Trumbull. Together they devise a strategy. They'll call off all first responders. This way, anyone still active on the streets can be identified as the enemy, which will allow the military to neutralize them without hesitation. Upon reaching the MI6 safe house, Mike and President Asher are met at the entrance by Agent Jacqueline Marshall. She quickly ushers them inside, ensuring their safety. Once settled, Marshall plays a coded voice message for them. It's from Allen, and he shares specific details known only to the 3 of them, confirming his identity beyond doubt. Allen's message further informs them that an armored escort is en route to their location, tasked with safely extracting the president from the city. Marshall then reveals the identity of the mastermind behind the attacks. When President Asher learns it's the man whose family he inadvertently caused the death of, he shows a mix of recognition and regret, indicating he's not entirely surprised by the revelation. A while later, an alert indicates the arrival of their team outside. Mike checks the security cameras and immediately senses something amiss. Zooming in for a closer look, he realizes the team outside isn't theirs. Swiftly he heads to the armory, gearing up for the imminent confrontation. He instructs Asher and Marshall to take cover. Wasting no time, Mike engages the intruders. He swiftly neutralizes one mercenary but faces a tougher challenge, with the second drawing attention from another adversary below. Mike thinks he's playing some COD as he slides smoothly, taking down several more attackers. Just as he's about to be ambushed, he manages to overpower his opponent. The duo then dash to a car underground ready to make their escape. As Agent Marshall begins investigating to uncover the mole who's been feeding information to their adversaries, the United States officials prove their worth at this critical juncture. They've managed to pinpoint Barkawi's hideout, a seemingly vacant house that consumes an unusually high amount of electricity and is linked to one of his past businesses. Meanwhile, Mike and President Asher navigate the streets of London, spotting adversaries ahead. Asher floors the accelerator. Bullets rain down as well as nearby cars erupting in flames, but they press on. Suddenly a truck barrels in from the sides, slamming into their vehicle and causing it to flip. Assailants rush forward, capturing President Asher. Mike, though, proves too difficult. Just in the nick of time, Trumble's hit squad descends on the scene. Mike quickly briefs them on the president's abduction, rallying them to launch a counter-offensive. Back at London's security headquarters, Agent Marshall manages to restore their surveillance system using a unique code. This unexpected move leaves everyone in the room both baffled and impressed. In a desolate warehouse, President Asher finds himself bound with Cameron, menacingly declaring that the entire world will witness his demise. Unbeknownst to Cameron, Mike and his team are positioned outside the building. Mike's walkie-talkie rings. It's the chief inspector urging caution as there is around 100 armed men, but he couldn't care less and the battle ensues. He and his team, with precision and determination, advances, systematically neutralizing their adversaries. The intensity escalates when an RPG is fired in their direction, but this doesn't deter them. Suddenly a sentry turret emerges, but Mike, always one step ahead, uses a grenade to put an end to that threat. He and his team push forward. He kills enemies at will, and they even use an RPG to take out the gunners as well as the building generator. They fire more rockets, allowing Mike time to infiltrate his way into the building. He dons night vision goggles and places a C4 next to the gas. He then swiftly and quietly takes out multiple assailants. Mike then acts as if he is one of the enemies until the generator is turned back on, but it doesn't really matter as he still easily takes out his attackers. He then runs through the building and manages to grab a quad kill and gets shot in the process. He uses grenades and anything he feels like to kill his adversaries. It is at this time Cameron turns on the live broadcast of the president to the world. He beats him. As Asher repeats the inaugural address, Cameron grabs a sword and at the last second Mike rushes in, guns blazing. He kills every single man in the room and runs out of bullets. As he faces Cameron head-on, he starts off winning the duel but is stabbed in the stomach area. He continues fighting and starts beating Cameron to a pulp until his brother throws a grenade which allows Cameron to escape. The duo then gets strapped and try to run away. In the process, they have to kill the countless enemies in their path, though they end up getting stuck with the enemy shooting them from both sides. Stranded, Mike is left with no option but to tell his man outside to blow up the C4. He detonates the explosive and the fire races through the entire building as Mike and Asher jump in an elevator shaft as the fire kills Cameron and sets the entire building ablaze. The building is quickly invaded and searched by the U.S. troops. They come upon the elevator shaft and see both Mike and the president laying on the ground, battered and bruised but alive. They come out of the ditch and President Asher salutes Mike for his heroism. Mike gives his man a device he found that could find the location of Amir Barkawi. The narrative then pivots to Agent Marshall. She confronts Michigan 5 Intelligence Chief Jan, having discovered he was Barkawi's inside man. His fingerprints were the giveaway found within the security system. He tries to justify his betrayal, arguing that he wanted to highlight the nation's vulnerability to violence due to its current military budget, but she does not care and eliminates him. Elsewhere, Barkawi's phone rings. It's Alan, with a tone of finality. Alan informs him that his sinister plan has crumbled. Barkawi defiantly retorts that it's just the beginning. The response is chilling. Look outside. Before Barkawi can react, a drone strike hits his base, obliterating him and the remnants of his organization. Fast forward 2 week London, resilient as ever, is on the media. Mike, seeking some break, returns to his hometown. He's there to cherish moments with Leah and their newborn daughter Lynn, named in honor of his fallen friend. As Mike contemplates his future, wrestling with the idea of leaving his job, he catches a glimpse of Alan on TV. Mike, with renewed determination, deletes his resignation letter.